All right. Welcome back to another episode of Fire the Cannon. I'm Rocky.
And I'm Megan. And
And
we
we are
are
Fire
Fire
the
the
Cannon.
Cannon.
We're apart today, so.
I think that's beautiful right there. Longhorn Nation, we're back.
We're back, Megan. Welcome back, Megan. We are apart today because you are traveling already on your way to Michigan. Where are you right now?
I am actually in Indiana. I'm visiting some friends in Columbus, Indiana on the way up to Michigan. Figured I'd make a long trip of it, say hi to some good friends I haven't seen in a few years. And
Nice.
That's one of the advantages of driving, right? You get to stop.
There are
and make
advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is I sent with you my boots, my hats, some of the Richard's heavier, hoodies and stuff. I sent that with you already, so it's less to carry on and pack. The disadvantage is,
it's a 20-hour drive.
Yeah, it's a 20-hour drive.
Yeah, so for sure.
We'll talk about it later, our plans looking ahead to Michigan game and all the things we have going on. But today we wanted to make sure we get our thoughts on what happened with Colorado State at Texas. We wanted to talk about the atmosphere, the players, what we were looking for, how our predictions of how the game would go, how that panned out. And then also we wanted to talk about college football in general. Week 1 is gone. Florida State, they're gone. We'll talk about our picks against the spread, how that went. And then we'll kind of do a little bit look ahead against Michigan, more of our plans and kind of what we'll be looking for. But we'll have more going on with that later in the week when we have a live episode later in the week. So from Michigan, we will be broadcasting from Michigan. So that'll be kind of fun. That'll be fun. There was so much happened this weekend. But first, let's catch up. So you are driving right now. On your way up.
Made my way up, got the dogs with me, so they're enjoying a backyard. Like I said, staying in Indiana for the night, and then I'll make my way to Michigan. It's only about 4 hours from here.
And it is a cool 70 degrees there?
72 degrees outside right now, and it's supposed to be even cooler in Michigan. So I am real excited about that. The dogs are, normally I'm not like a leave dogs outside kind of person, because Texas is just.
Oh, not in Texas.
Yeah, especially for Great Danes, but they are living it up. Like they don't want to come in. They're enjoying the soft grass and the coolness of the backyard. So they're happy.
Yeah. And everybody knows you have the two big Great Danes. Just the other day they were on Texas Longhorns, I think, used them again on one of the promos about, was it like National Dog Day?
Yeah, International Dog Day. Yeah. So
everyone knows.
They're good. I'm telling you, they handle road trips better than most people do. They hop in that truck and they're excited to see where we're going for about 3 minutes, and then they're over it and they're sleeping. So, and they'll sleep for 15 hours. Good dogs. Yeah, it's great.
All right. So let's talk about I'll tell you, I'll be there Thursday afternoon. Richard and I are flying Thursday morning. We have a layover in like North Carolina or Charlotte or something. Charlotte, I think. And then we go on to Detroit, and you will be picking us up from the airport, and then from there it is game mode. We're coming to win the weekend, right? That starts with us winning the weekend.
Yes.
Friday, we'll find opportunities if we can find a spot to invite some friends to come out and meet. I know a lot of people are talking online on Twitter about, where's the party? Where can we meet? Happy hour, things like that. So we'll try to find a good spot, where you can sit outside. I'm sure it's going to be beautiful and cool. Find a patio somewhere where people can get some food and drinks. So we'll look into that. And then Saturday morning, we'll be down on campus. All right. It's so exciting. So exciting. We'll talk more about that later. All right. But this past weekend, we did the tailgating and the game day atmosphere. Megan, tell us, how crazy was it setting up as game day 1?
Yeah, look, football is back, baby. And I'm excited. It was a great weekend, but definitely just, like the team, you got to knock a little bit of that off-season rust off and figure it out. So, set up the tailgate. It went well. We had about 200 people come out for the tailgate. Not as hot as previous season openers have been, but still not what I would call a cool. It was a brisk 94 degrees outside or whatever, but no, it was good. I mean, it's always, DKR was hopping. Let's talk about the atmosphere a little bit. I think the excitement for this year is at an all-time high for Texas football, and everybody's excited when it comes back. Coming off a season like Texas had in 2023 was really the expectations are high, the excitement's high, and you could feel it in DKR. Despite the heat, despite, it not being the coolest of days, I really feel like fans showed up. It was a good showing. What did you feel like? How was the game day atmosphere from where you were at?
Well, we're hanging out with you. First, I want to say whoever cooked the food. I know there's a team of people that cooked the food at the tailgate.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good. We had shrimp and sausage and chicken fajitas and so much good food. And then somebody made a dip that was like some kind of a cream cheese or sour cream or something with the bacon. I don't know what it was. That was amazing.
Listen, we don't always win the games, but we always win at tailgating. That's for dang sure.
It was really good. So we got to see some friends coming in from all over for game day one. It was exciting. Even on our way towards the stadium, the atmosphere was alive. There were lots of people.
People were amped.
People were excited. And it was 2:30. And like you said, it wasn't as hot as it could have been, but it was a good 90 and the clouds were opening. So the sun was on us for most of the game. There were some people, of course, complaining that, there's a line to get in. Well, then get there earlier. I mean,
look,
there's always a rush at every stadium on the planet in the world, every arena. Don't wait till the last second to get in. Get in early. Yeah.
That's the truth. No, I think Bevo Boulevard was hopping. Longhorn City Limits, again, went over really well. Midland put on a great show. People were really excited to be there. So, it's nice to be in a Texas, in DKR again, where you're not having to tell Texas fans to show up early or wear orange or be excited.
They are there. Yes.
They're there. They're amped. Folks are ready. So yeah, let's jump into it. A lot of high expectations going into this season. Colorado State coming in, sporting that air raid offense that we all knew and we're ready for. Texas. We had given our predictions early on. Rocky, how close were we?
We were not close because we each said that Colorado State would actually score points.
Right.
So we should have known that when they played in 1975, the score was 45-0. Now these are two different programs now. The score was 52-0. So in 2 games, 97-0. If my math is right. That's
really
crazy.
Impressive. Really impressive showing by Texas. I mean, neither one of us had Texas covering. I think we were both playing it kind of conservative, expecting the Horns to be very vanilla when they came out. We knew a lot of players were going to get into rotation. We thought that might cause a little bit of delays, slow the game down a little bit for Texas. But I got to tell you, as much as you are hesitant with this phrase, I feel like it was all gas, no brakes the whole game.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I'm looking for the actual score line I want to tell you about. But I agree completely. All gas, no brakes. And even when Arch Manning came out, the 3rd and 4th running back were out, or the 4th and 5th and 6th receivers were out, there was no slowing down the playbook. Of course, the entire game plan was shielding things for the rest of the year. They didn't go all out with the trick plays and the bombs downfield. They didn't need to, fortunately, get too deep because their vanilla offense with the execution and the speed was more than enough. We saw Colorado State was respecting that speed, kept everything in front of them. And Quinn did what we talked about him needing to do, take what the defense gives you. And the defense gave him intermediate. And from there, the receivers were able to get yards after the catch. It was amazing how everybody worked together. And we were also worried a little bit about timing with the receivers. And I think the only one who really had a couple opportunities with the ball in hand and didn't finish the pass was Jaden Blue, but that's okay. They'll work those things out. So that was really good. All gas, no brakes. Even in defense, when the game was on, the shutout was on the line, Wardell Mack steps up and makes that interception. So I agree. All gas, no brakes, offense and defense. How did you see it?
Yeah, I was really impressed. I like that you brought up Quinn. I think that there were a lot of questions surrounding Quinn coming in. We knew he had taken on this leadership role a little bit more. By all accounts, this is his team. We know that. As Texas fans, we know that. The coaches have been talking about that steadily, that this was Quinn's team, no question about it, despite saying up front that a lot of players were going to get playing time just to get the ball in their hands, get them a little bit comfortable in real game situations. But exactly like you said, Quinn came out, he looked cool, calm, and collected. Even Coach Sark mentioned in the Monday morning presser, even that one unfortunate turnover that Quinn did have, wasn't his fault. The ball got tipped and intercepted.
I watched it. It didn't really look like he was throwing it away, but that's fine. He shook it off, and that's what matters.
But that's the point, right? Like Coach Sark said in his first year at Texas, Quinn was like visibly rattled when he would have a turnover. It really bothered him, really got to him. And Sark was just applauding the maturity, applauding the growth of Quinn, even in a situation like that, going, okay, he came off the field and said, yeah, look, I was trying to throw it away. Didn't happen. Shook it off. Water off a duck's back was what Coach Sark said. So to me, that was really encouraging. I think we are really seeing the evolution of Quinn Ewers paying off here. Now, again, we all know this is the first game. Of course, these are going to be vast overreactions as we try to analyze what's going on just off of one game. But by all accounts, I felt very good. I mean, how can you not feel good coming off a 52-0 win? I don't care who you're playing, even if it was an FCS team, which it was not. No. We knew that the quality of competition wasn't going to be quite where Texas is as a team, but Colorado State, no snuff. Like you brought up, they had this air raid offense. We expected a lot of attacking on the offense, and for the defense to shut out a team, not allow a single point. Man, I feel like that's really a positive coming off of this. You got to feel good as a Longhorn fan watching what was on display. Another thing I think that was really cool to see. Again, we knew that a lot of players were going to get time, but having 51 players touch the ball, see playing action in the first half alone, 77 players overall. I don't want to understate that. I mean, again, if you've been a Longhorn fan for a while, you know the pain that we've been through with previous coaches, perhaps not getting the backups enough playing time. So this was an excellent opportunity. I liked to see that there wasn't much downplay or much the seconds that the twos, the threes didn't skip a beat. It really felt like this team is all on the same page. They know what the goal is. They know where they need to be. Their position. They were in position. They were where they should be. Quinn was checking down well. Arch Manning looked great. Let's talk about Manning a little bit, Rocky. Were you excited to see him come in?
Well, we'll talk about in a minute our prediction. We kind of predicted when we would see him. We were both off, but that's okay. Again, he is mobile. He is strong. He is confident. He had great timing with the receivers. He had a little more mobility to kind of make things happen. And he looked like he was having a lot of fun out there, which we talked about. We wanted to see them have some fun. So he's just so good. And we're in good hands. Right. Should, Quinn need to catch a break for a minute, we're in good hands. Just so confident in both of them. And I don't know anybody in the country who would not take our quarterback 1 and 2 over there. It's like we have this, Trey Owens who looked fantastic in the spring game. We're not going to anoint him after a spring game, but you feel good that if that's his base where he's coming in at, the sky's the limit with the development from Milwee and Sark. So yes, I really, of course, the crowd goes crazy when Arch comes in, and yeah.
Look, it's an embarrassment of riches right now for the Texas offense. I think, a few of the key points that we had talked about earlier is this O-line going to live up to the hype, and I think we saw them step up. I feel like the O-line production was what we wanted it to be. Guys, I feel good about
a lot of room for game 1. Yes, there's a lot of room. Fortunately, there's a lot of room for improvement after a strong performance, right? Like there's a lot to grow on from week 1. Yeah,
absolutely. Again, like Mac Brown says, the biggest change, the biggest difference you see in the team is going to be from week 1 to week 2. But again, I mean, I feel for the most part, Quinn had an opportunity. The quarterbacks had an opportunity to check down. They were getting protected enough to make their reads, go through their progressions, find their guys again, and then much credit to our receivers. A lot of guys, again, I think it was 7 receivers in all. Might have been more than that, Rocky. Double check me.
11 different pass catchers. 6 of them were wide receivers, right?
Yeah. I mean, just seeing so many people, the ball distributed so evenly, some insane plays. Again, man, I cannot speak highly enough about Isaiah Bond. Really excited watching him out there and just how he was cooking that secondary, putting on the slick moves. The one play, yeah, the one play in particular that jumps out in my mind is, he had gotten a little bit of a face mask caught off the line and burned the corner so badly that he was able to adjust. Excuse me, he burned the safety so badly he was able to adjust his helmet after that face mask and still catch the ball
and
for a
still
touchdown.
make the touchdown catch.
Yeah, just really impressive work. I feel good about where this Texas offense is. We talk about this high power, high octane offense. Would Texas be able to replicate or at least stay on level of where they were last year after losing a lot of those starters? And as far as, wide receiver production, I stand by my statement that I made earlier, made a couple times. I feel like this wide receiving core as a group is going to be better than what Texas had last year. And that's no small thing to say, given how much talent that we had last year and how much production we had last year.
It definitely helps when you can obviously key in on one or two people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Agreed. Was there a position group on the offense that stuck out to you or anything that you saw that you were particularly pleased with as the game went on?
I was saying coming into this game that I really wanted the tight ends to shine and do, really, because they were going to have a role helping with the run game. They're helping with the pass protection and then getting involved in the pass. All three tight ends recorded a catch. One of the breakout runs of the game was Gunnar Helm. So that was, I think he went for 37 yards on the one catch. That was pretty fantastic. I'm going to go watch a little bit deeper and really focus on the tight ends next time I watch it. But I felt like they were all over the place and really involved.
Yeah.
Amari Niblack, Juan Davis, and Gunnar Helm all got a catch. So that was really good. That's who we know the receivers are all over the place. And it helps, like we just said, it helps when they don't have to key in on just an Xavier Worthy or just, a Adonai Mitchell. But there's so much speed and talent all over the field that, like you said a minute ago, it's an embarrassment of riches in the quarterback room. It's also that in where do you even begin to defend this wide receiving core, right? So let's kind of go through the game, like what we said we were really looking for coming in and see how that panned out. So over the season, just in general, this team, the big question marks coming in were red zone offense, the wide receiving timing with the rotations and how they were going to make that work. Defense, right? What the big question mark was pass coverage. And then some of the things that Sark says, you get what you emphasize. He said they were really going to emphasize limiting self-inflicted wounds. And so let's take these one at a time. Red zone offense. That was a huge.
Let me just throw my hands up.
Seven for 7 in the red zone.
Yeah. Let me throw my hands up and say, hallelujah, Texas. Dare I say it? Again, perhaps this is a wild overreaction in game one, but oh my sweet baby Jesus, Texas has a red zone offense. If there was anything, that we could really feel like was a glaring issue last year, it was just Texas's inability to punch it in when they were in the red zone. There were so many opportunities that Texas just, a lot of these games ended up way closer than what Texas truly played and what they could have been, simply because we could not produce in that red zone. And again, we know the level of competition week one compared to what we have coming up in the schedule, perhaps not quite as high, but anytime Texas was there to go 7 for 7. I mean, this is similar to the conversation. It doesn't matter who you're playing when you shut an opponent out completely, or when you have 100% success rate in the red zone. I mean, those numbers, no matter who you're playing, speak for themselves. That's really impressive. So I was really encouraged by that. Again, that's where I felt, and we'll dive into the O-line a little bit, talk about that. But that's where I was really encouraged. Last year, I felt that it was just, we didn't have the opportunities. We weren't opening up big holes for our guys to get through. We couldn't quite make the connections, and we know that Sark schemes well. It just felt like there was just a little off, wasn't quite. It's almost like the guys got too amped in the red zone and they couldn't execute. And this year, so far, game one, it really feels
Great
like
start.
absolutely. Those concerns feel like they are not going to be a problem. It feels
Well,
like
they
these
feel like
guys.
they've been addressed.
Yeah,
Like you
absolutely.
said, it's
Absolutely.
been emphasized for sure. And there was one throw that that Quinn had in the red zone that was just this beautiful back shoulder throw, and it's similar to the one that just missed against Washington that could have, maybe taken them to the national championship game. And then here he comes back with just that touch on it, like nothing. And it's really exciting that the things that he wanted to work on, the things that the team wanted to work on, but in the red zone, huge improvement already. Another question mark we had was the wide receiver rotation, which we just talked about. How are they going to get everyone involved? They got everybody involved, including the leading receiver, the one with the most yards in the game, Ryan Wingo. Isaiah Bond had the most catches, but Ryan Wingo had 4 receptions, and he averaged 17.5 yards per reception.
Yeah, really capitalizing every time he touched
70 yards in this game. When we got excited about Ryan Wingo coming to Texas, this is it. His first game ever in college football, and he leads the team in yards in the game. Wow. But it was divided again between 11 different players. How do you defend that? That's going to be so amazing.
It's going to be a problem. Again, couple that with, Sark's ability to scheme up and really create motion, create a lot of confusion, throw a ton of different looks with all the weapons that Texas has. It's exciting. I'm amped to see what comes out next. Now, again, concerns in the past have been Texas's inability to kind of finish drives. And it felt like for this game, at least, all the pieces were there and playing out really well. Again, Texas had the scheming. They had the play calling. They were ready. They made adjustments in game. And then they were able to execution, right. They were able to capitalize on the drives, capitalize on these plays, and spread the ball around. So I feel like there's a lot to be very excited about, a lot to be positive about, a lot to be hopeful about watching this offense. I've got to say, we've been talking about it all season where there was room for improvement. I feel like a lot of that was addressed. I feel like a lot of the big concerns that might have caused Texas to have closer games like they did last year have been addressed, like you mentioned earlier. Now, let's look at the flip side of that. Was there anything on the offense that you felt still have some concerns, need to clean that up? Of course, we know there's no such thing as a perfect team. There's always room for improvement. What stood out to you in this Colorado State game for Texas as maybe a little concerning, things that need to be addressed, and what's your level of concern for those things?
Are you talking about on the offense?
Yeah, on the offense.
I still felt like, even though there were only 3 penalties in the game, the first 2, 2 of the 3 were Jake Majors at center, and that will get fixed. He's experienced, super senior, whatever. So that will get fixed. I'm not too worried about that, but I just felt like there could have been more domination by that offensive line. If you're going to be the best offensive line in the country this year, you have to just establish yourself against a team like Colorado State. I know they will rise to the occasion against Michigan, just like they did last year against Alabama, controlling the ball all the way down the field to the last 7+ minutes of the game at the line of scrimmage. I know that's in them. So, and I'm not going to say they were saving it for Michigan, because they were physical and there was a lot of good work. I thought there would be a little bit more on the O-line as far as physicality, but we did see there was a lot of, switching positions, a lot of moving around, a lot of adjusting, and they still only gave up 1 sack and, helped get almost 200 yards of rushing and over 500 and something yards of offense. So the work was there, but if I had to be nitpicky, I thought there would be a little bit more manhandling.
Sure. And look, I think I am going to harken back to, you're absolutely right. There was a lot of rotation there. Again, we talked about this prior. We knew that we were going to see guys on the O-line kind of rotating out, getting some snaps at a position that wasn't their natural position, that they don't typically start at. So yeah, I see what you're saying. And I love that we are now in a place that we have the opportunity to say, let's get real nitpicky about the little things.
It's Texas, again, riches to get.
Texas only being called for 3 penalties. To me, my God, what a change from the Big 12.
And is that us or the refs?
Well, again, little column A, little column B, probably thrown in there. but it was a nice change of pace. And I think that's something that we're going to be, of course, you always want to make sure to keep your, don't shoot yourself in the foot, keep those self-inflicted wounds to a minimum. And I think for the most part, the offense did that. Again, considering this was the first game, knocking a little bit of the rust off and trying guys out at, or continuing to work them in different positions. I don't have a lot of great concern. Plus the factoring in the vanilla offense, not giving anything away. I was happy with the O-line play in regards to it being the first game against Colorado State.
Oh, yeah. That's a baseline of what they can be for the year. And it was fantastic. The stat line shows. One of the other big questions was, of course, the DBs. They got torched a lot. Overall, the statistics weren't that bad. It just looked bad more often. Too often it didn't look what DBU could be or was, right? Saturday against Colorado State, who is a high-flying air raid passing offense with one of the best wide receivers in the country, Toy Horton. They held him to 31 yards.
Yeah.
And overall, they held the entire offense to only 74 yards passing with 2 interceptions. You can't ask for a better opening day to come out and say we've addressed and we're getting what we emphasized, right?
Look, I cannot agree with you more. That it was so nice to see, we've talked about Texas. We used to be DBU, right? And we saw a lot of improvement last year. We saw a lot of potential. I think last year, looking at that secondary, looking at the DBs, potential was the word, right? Guys that were younger, now they have a little bit more experience under their belt, have a whole season to get seasoned. And I think we really saw the work that was put in the offseason. We saw the younger guys grow up. Again, last year, you'd have a little bit of body positioning be out, hips be kind of turned the wrong way, maybe losing a step, not be facing the right way. And that was not an issue for Texas against Colorado State. Our guys were in place. They were ball hawking. They knew where to be. They got the jump on. They were reading the quarterback well, covering their guys tight. I really think it was an impressive showing from that secondary and from the DBs. And again, I think answered, at least as far as the overreaction of the first game can be considered, really feel like that answered a lot of questions, kind of put some of those concerns to rest. And of course, one game does not a season make.
But we can tell again, it is a work in progress that they're addressing. And that's what we need. There is growth. There's been coaching. There's schematic changes. Their players are being developed. There was some physical hard hitting, which I loved. And so we talked about the 2 interceptions. One was Jahdae Barron flying across. The other was the diving catch by Wardell Mack to save the shutout. But did you see that there is a turnover sword?
Yeah. Listen, the name of it is my favorite, the Texcalibur.
The Texcalibur. Here,
I love that.
I took a quick video of them on this from my seats. You can see them trying to stab the sword. It was hilarious. Here, watch this. It took them forever to stab it. I'm like, what are they doing?
A little work on the Texcalibur execution there.
I think they need to maybe get a little box or something for the ball to lay in place in a box, also so that they don't. Oh, I don't want the sword to hurt anyone. So they need to find a way to safely stab that ball.
Yeah, and this was something that was brought over from ASU, right? They have the turnover trident.
Arizona. Is it Arizona or Arizona State? I don't know. State. Anyways, then there's the Longhorn, the welded Longhorn piece on each side of the sword.
Make it Texcalibur. Yeah, Arizona State has the turnover trident. So this was something that was adopted from the coach. And so, yeah, I love it. It's fun to see the guys having fun. I dig this more than the turnover chain. Now, yes, there is high propensity.
Turnover chain, everybody has kind of a turnover chain now. That's kind of cool.
Now let's stab something, right? I love it. I love it. So, all right, guys, if I had to rate the execution there, I'm going to give them a solid C for execution, but A- for enthusiasm. I like that the guys
and A+ for that play by Jade flying across the face of the receiver, and also the absolute understanding of what was about to happen before it happened of the DBs, because two safeties and I forgot who was flying, but Taff was there, Jade comes flying over, and they saw what was about to happen before it happened, and they swarmed Horton on that play, and he just comes flying across and snatches that right out of the air. Yeah. I mean, that's like NFL level recognition and execution.
Again, I thought I was really encouraged seeing the guys were in position. They were ball hawking. They were ready to go. I mean, a lot of the concerns we had, I feel like, were addressed. So really gives a lot of confidence going into Michigan. We know that Michigan has a great defense. We know we've been talking about Texas's potential on offense, and it felt like this game against Colorado State felt like the perfect, like, let's check all those boxes, the things that we were worried about, the issues that needed to be addressed. Can Texas execute? Listen, I think everything that could have been a concern, certainly things that were a question going into this Michigan game, certainly were addressed. Those boxes were ticked. Oh man, I'm feeling good about Michigan coming in. So we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Go ahead. You had a cool, or you saw a cool from our friend Corey Mose had a pretty neat video of it was Nick Sanders. Now we know I love my baseball too, and Nick Sanders from the baseball team running into the stands. You have a video of that?
Yeah, right here. So Corey Mose posted that of running back after the game, getting his, I guess, kind of like a lot like soccer players, rugby players, football players too. If you didn't get the work in the game, you go tire yourself, test yourself, fatigue yourself another way if you didn't get the reps in the game. And here he is running bleachers in the heat in the stands to contribute.
And I want to emphasize that this is Nick Sanders, the baseball player who is now going dual sport for Texas. This is his first year on the football team.
Wow. I didn't know that. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah. So really cool to see him out there putting in work. Those are two very different kinds of workouts for baseball and football. So got to love seeing Nick put in the work there. Really excited to see him.
And that shows he's not expecting anything less than what every other player is doing, right? Like he's coming to earn his spot, to contribute as a football player too. That says a lot about the culture of the program, his character as an athlete. All right. So another thing that Sark said they really wanted to emphasize and get done in this game was get lots of players playing time. He talked about this for many reasons. One, the heat, right? It was going to be hot, and they needed to be able to rotate fresh players. Long term, though, they were hoping to play through January 20th, 2025. So there could be up to 15 games or so. So they need to get everybody involved, right? So they, like you said, 77 players, 13 of the 24 freshmen played. How crazy is that? And contributed, leading running back, true freshman, leading receiver, true freshman. So many players got involved and contributed. So what do you think about the benefits of that for the true freshmen? Them getting the experience, like the recruiting aspect. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I think Texas did themselves a lot of favors. Again, we are in a position and have enough depth, even with the running back room, where we know we have suffered some pretty big losses at the beginning of the season or prior to the season starting. I mean, this is, of course, anytime you're comfortable enough in your opening game and you're doing well enough that you can get that many players in, that many through the rotation, that's only going to help, right? Getting that real game in-game experience for those freshmen, kind of don't worry about the deer in the headlights, get all that out of the way in a game where you are comfortably in command. You really can't overstate how important that is for those players to get that real-time experience. So yeah, I think it was really impressive that Texas got through that many players in a game, certainly seeing a lot of action and production, not just, I mean, these weren't just junk time touches, right? We saw a lot of players early and meaningful touches really in the mix of things. And I think that is certainly different than we've seen in the past. So yeah, I'm encouraged by that. I'm excited that we are in a position and have the depth to be able to do that in a game like this in the first game. So yeah, now I think it is safe to say we're feeling good after this blowout win against a reasonable, formidable CSU team, Colorado State. We had given our predictions. I had given 34-10. Rocky, I think you were what, 41-17?
43-16.
43-16. All right. So we both didn't have Texas covering. That's on us. Our bad, Texas. We're
hard
sorry.
to cover in the first game. A lot of other teams did not cover their first game.
That's
so
true.
Good
That's
to cover.
true. So pleasantly surprised there. Texas covers comfortably, cruises to that 52-0 win. And again, good on you fans for showing up throughout the heat and showing out and supporting Texas. Let's quickly jump into, and again, we'll cover this game more on our live show later this week, but let's talk a little bit of Michigan. You ready to talk about the excitement going into that? How you feeling going into Michigan?
I'm feeling good. Vegas is feeling good about Texas. Again, the line went from 3 to 4 to 3 to 7.5.
Yeah, today.
For Texas. Yeah,
Today alone,
it's jumping. People feel good and are putting money on the side of Texas. And of course, that's overreaction week of how strong and clean Texas looked on offense and defense on Saturday. And what looked to be confusion, maybe who's the quarterback, a little struggling early offense of Michigan side in Michigan's game. And of course, they pulled away. And, it was week 1 and they were struggling they were going back, trying to do 2 quarterbacks. Some people say if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have 1. But we'll see if they were just saving stuff and they really have the high power thing ready to go on Saturday. I'm sure they have way more than they were ready to show against Fresno State. But yeah, Vegas feels good about Texas going into Ann Arbor on Saturday. We'll cover again. We'll dive more into it later in the week before the game when we're in Michigan. But yeah, how are you feeling early?
Look, I've been saying this since during preseason. I, for whatever reason, am so insanely confident about Texas going into Ann Arbor. I was confident before this Colorado State game. I am so confident that I am uncomfortable with how confident I am about Texas at Michigan. I just feel, and of course, Texas going in and just beating the absolute dog piss out of Colorado State 52-0 does nothing to tamper that confidence in me, which is probably a problem, right? Like I'm worried I'm going to jinx the team at this point. I'm so comfortable. But I think couple that with what appeared to be a lackluster performance from Michigan, again, returning national champions, you'd expect a little bit more. Now, this is something that I've been saying through the offseason. Winning a national championship is hard. It takes so many things, so many pieces to fall in just the right place, a few lucky breaks, real true team continuity, and special players to be able to win a national championship. And to lose so many pieces of that special, juju in there, your coaching staff with Coach Harbaugh leaving, losing a lot of that, staff there, losing a ton of players to the NFL. I think there was a lot of maybe overlooking how much JJ McCarthy did for Michigan, right? He wasn't a guy that was going to blow you away with stats, but he was consistent. He knew his team. He knew how to run it. And I think that lack of a quarterback in that kind of position, that kind of quarterback was really on display for Michigan in this first game for them against Fresno State. You're right. You had said that they looked a little bit in disarray, weren't quite firing on all cylinders. I have to agree with that. Now, there is some question. Were they, are they playing chess, not checkers, just totally throwing the game off, putting in different starters so that Texas has nothing to go on? Is that possible? Yeah. I mean, it would take a very, very confident coaching staff to say, I'm not even going to worry about my starters going in. Perhaps a little bit tricky, a little bit dangerous strategy there. Not getting the guys that ultimately you want to play in your upcoming tough game, not getting them a ton of reps. But look, much like Texas, I think that, Texas was playing pretty vanilla, trying a few things, guys at different positions. Of course, I think it would be silly to think that Michigan wasn't doing the same. That being said, uh, you know, Texas rotating as many players in and out as they did, trying guys at different positions and still having the success that they did, not taking their foot off the gas. And then in in comparison, watching Michigan struggle in, if we're going to call that a similar situation, I got to feel real good about going into Ann Arbor with Texas, with this Texas offense, with this Texas team as a whole, playing really strong football. Again, wild overreactions from the first game, but when you compare the two, you got to feel good as a Texas fan. And I'll tell you this, Rocky. I've got, I was talking with Rod, our buddy Rod Babers, about this earlier today. I've got family in Michigan. I've got friends that are Michigan fans, pretty tied in, locked in with the vibe up there. And I gotta say, confidence levels, at least in the circles that I've seen, confidence levels amongst Michigan fans is not high. I think
is that why ticket prices have dropped almost in half in the last few weeks?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think this is something where they were right in the high of the season last year. And then the performance coming out from Michigan against Fresno State might have been a, oh no moment for a lot of fans. So yeah, again, of course, I think there's some showmanship going on. I think there's some trickeration going on here on the Michigan side and maybe on the Texas side too. But overall, I think this is going to be a great matchup. Don't underestimate the atmosphere in the Big House. They will show up. They will get loud. It is a big place. There will be a lot of people there. But, to that point, Coach Sark was talking about it's going to be the thousands against, the 100, keeping that mentality that it's Texas against the world. But
yeah,
I love the
There'll
mentality.
Be a lot of Longhorns there.
Texas fans are going to show up, man. I think it's going to be pretty great. Is there anything that we want to touch base on with Michigan right now before we
just that I'm glad to hear that Sark isn't at all. He was asked in the press conference yesterday about the spread and people favoring Texas, and he's like, oh no, we're talking about national championships, 3-time playoff contenders,
yes.
and home record and consecutive winning and all the things that should make Texas feel like it doesn't matter if someone's picking you to win. You have to go in there and earn it and take it.
And there's play the game.
But one last question before we move on from wrapping up Colorado State and kind of a little preview of Michigan is, what do you think Texas can take from Colorado State that will carry into what we actually saw of the 2024 team that they can take into Michigan and continue and transfer to that game?
Yeah, look, we talked about consistency, and I think that's something that. And versatility. Coach Sark talked a ton about versatility and the players that we have on this team right now, being able to go into a bunch of different positions and understand and really execute. I think that's something that getting that many guys rotated in and out of the game against Colorado State is going to be a huge benefit for the Michigan game. I think we got a lot of looks, a lot of different players got real playing time, and that versatility of a ton of our guys is just going to benefit Texas and going to be something that they can lean on going into this game against a tough Michigan team. I mean, again, I pointed out Michigan's had some losses. They've certainly perhaps aren't the exact same team that we saw last year win the national championship, but that by no means makes this game a gimme. It by no means makes this game a walk-off, right? So, I think Texas has to stay hungry, and I think keeping those guys rotating out and competing for the positions. Just because you started one game doesn't mean you're going to be starting the next game. You got to fight for those positions and for that starting role every time, every practice, every down. So I think that's going to help out going into the Michigan game. How about you?
I would say we knew going into this game with Colorado State, it's going to be a completely different style offense than Michigan plays typically. The Colorado State being the air raid, Michigan really relying heavily on being physical and up front and establishing a run. So fortunately, when Colorado State, when it was obvious they weren't going to be able to throw on Texas, and they did start to try to run the ball, just like Sark said, there was a little bit leaky, and they did have a 100-yard, rusher in that game, rusher get over 100 yards. I would like to see. They didn't have to show too much in how they were going to defend, run, but when they did adjust, they adjusted and it went well. So hopefully they saw enough to where they know what kind of base they want to come in to stop a Michigan run. And it's going to be good because we know that if you can force any team to be one-dimensional, you better be able to back up the other dimension. If Texas is going to try and force Michigan to throw the ball by selling out for the run, we know we can feel more confident that our DBs can cover their wide receivers. They're going to get theirs and we're going to get ours, but it should be enough to where if it's not going to get into any kind of shootout in this game, we know that. But if we can force them to have to throw, should be an advantage for Texas in this game.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think we learned that from this last weekend.
No, I think those are all great points.
All right, so we'll make our we'll wrap up. We'll make a couple more Michigan notes right before we say goodbye. But let's talk about college football week 1. So all the things that happened this past weekend. We'll just fly through our picks. We both picked Oklahoma to win last week, but not cover, and they covered. So good for them. Even though, did you know they were 1 for 12 on third downs?
Yeah. Again,
1 for 12.
I think Oklahoma, there's still a ton of question marks about that program. I've said this before. I think Brett Venables is a great DC. I'm still not convinced he's got all the pieces and the experience to be a great CEO head coach, right? I think there's still a lot of questions. So certainly if I am OU, that has got to be addressed. 1 for 12 on third downs is not going to win you a whole lot of games in the SEC. And again, OU's got a hell of a schedule coming up in conference play. So again, first week, let's not overreact to OU. But as a Texas fan, if I'm looking through those burnt orange glasses, I'm going to chuckle and feel good about Texas's performance in comparison to OU.
But they still put up 51 points.
And they put up a lot of points. So, I mean, OU is still OU until they prove that they're not.
Okay, one of the worst quarterback ratings. We know the worst went to the Aggie quarterback. One of the worst quarterback ratings of the season of the weekend was Cade Klubnik, Westlake's Cade Klubnik, who is just not connecting at Clemson the way he probably had hoped he would. 40.8 QBR. That wasn't that much better. 23 for 33, but they pulled away big late. Georgia was sick. The game was so boring. It was 6-0 at half. Georgia will be fine. 34-3. We both said that they would win and pull away big. So we got that one right.
Yeah.
Florida. So Florida at home got beat down by Miami. And did you see the video of the recruits telling there were Miami recruits telling Miami players telling the Florida visiting recruits, don't come here, don't come here.
Look, that is a dirty, dirty rivalry. If you haven't seen how dirty that can get, that was definitely on full display. But listen, you don't want to look like a bitch. Don't get beat like one. I hate to be that aggressive about it, but that was a butt whooping. And it is hard to see positives.
That was 41-17. Yeah.
Right. It's hard to take away positives for Florida. I did not have them doing very well this year, and nothing I saw changed my mind in this first game. Florida's got a lot of problems, a lot of things to figure out. And I think it's fair to say that their coach is not, his butt might be getting a little warm right about now. Not a lot of fun happening in the swamp for Gator fans, that's for sure.
No, we already talked about Fresno State. Michigan beat them by 30-10, didn't cover. But let's talk about the big Saturday night game was Notre Dame at A&M. We both thought A&M with the 12th man and college game day and over 100 recruits in the stand. We thought that they were just going to put on the Connor Weigman in his 3rd or 4th or 5th or 10th year. We just thought they were going to at least move the ball. And it was that anemic. That offense was missing completely. What were your thoughts? We watched this game together on Saturday night. We
look, that's what happens when you try to give Aggies credit. Really, and again, look, I have A&M being a 7-5 team at best, I think, this year. And that's not a knock. That's not an indictment on Elko. You've got a whole new coaching staff breaking in folks and figuring out who their team is, finding the identity, working on building that game plan. 7-5 in a first year for a whole new coaching staff is not a bad thing. But if I'm an Aggie, I'm concerned, right? The play of Connor Wigman certainly left a lot to the imagination, left a lot to be desired. You know, I don't know. Plenty can be addressed, but I would have some concerns coming off of the expectations going into this season and then the reality of the play. Now, there's a lot of talk. Was he sick? Did he, you know?
I mean, he was throwing up.
Yeah, and is whether
and
he
they
was
said he had a fever. I saw everything on their message boards from he had 100+ fever to he smokes too much weed.
Right.
Like, why are they saying that about him on the message boards? Like their own guy. That's terrible.
Well,
all right. Anyway,
and no matter what, if it was nerves or if he was sick or whatever, it's none of those are good scenarios for A&M. So hopefully for them, they can get that figured out and get rolling again.
Well, they have an opportunity at home this next weekend to win big. All right. So quickly, we'll fly through USC, LSU. What's we watched that together. What surprised us most was that USC was so physical.
USC has a defense. Physical. Lincoln Riley has a defense. That surprised me.
Yeah, that was a good win. Exciting game. Went to the last few minutes. That was exciting game. And then last up, Florida State, they lost at home. And good for their fans to actually come back and think they were going to do something and show up until they left early. All right.
Yeah, Florida State's a hot mess right now. To me, it looks like the College Football Playoff Committee should be suing Florida State for impersonating a D1 football team, man. It's rough there. It's rough. All right.
So let's wrap up. Oregon, I'm sure they'll come back to life. Good job in fighting Mac Brown's winning with the field goal. And Vanderbilt. Okay, now we have something interesting happening when we get to Nashville in a few weeks. All right. So Texas, just Texas moved up to number 3 in the polls. It's Georgia, Ohio State, Texas. Oregon dropped down, and everybody else kind of moved up. They really like that A&M win because they moved Notre Dame up to number 5. All right. And then that's it. Florida State, of course, dropped out of all the polls. All right. So Megan, let's wrap up. You are in Michigan. I am in Austin.
Indiana right now.
Indiana, but we will meet in Michigan on Thursday. When do you get to Michigan?
Tomorrow morning. I will leave Indiana first thing tomorrow morning. It's only about a 4-hour drive there. So I'll meet up with family, get things ready at the Airbnb, and then pick you up on Thursday, and we'll be ready to rock. That's for sure. I know
it's going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun. So the spread, like we said, is right now it's at 7.5. Texas ticket prices are dropping, and of course we've seen now that no bag policy in the stadium. So if you're packing for the game and you're
0 bags, not just clear bags.
No 0 bags. Exactly. Not just clear bags, 0 bags. So make sure you have pockets, bust out those cute leggings with the pockets in them or the pocket cargo skirts or whatever. It's going to be chilly. It's going to be fun. It will be tailgating out in the cold morning. All right. I can't wait to see you what's today? Tuesday. I can't wait to see you in 2 days, almost 48 hours from now.
Yeah.
We'll be landed in Detroit, and you're going to take me to go get some good food right away.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be fun. It's going to be
all
so
right.
fun.
And we do appreciate y'all listening. Again, please be sure to like and subscribe. That's Fire the Cannon Podcast on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter and on Instagram at Fire the Cannon 1. That's the number 1. We appreciate you being here. Stay tuned. We're going to have a special live Fire the Cannon from Michigan coming up. So stay tuned for those details. We appreciate y'all listening. Appreciate you being here. As always, y'all, I'm Megan.
I'm Rocky.
And we are Fire the Cannon.